All right, y'all. So we got to talk about AI because these updates are just. I literally don't even know how we got to this point. So I'm sure you all have, personal stories about your experience with using AI, messing around with it a little bit here and there, and I certainly have mine. And in my experience, the hallucinations happen very often, where they just like make some shit up and run with it. And there's been stories of like lawyers trying to use AI in order to like do a briefing, and it just like totally makes some shit up and makes like literally will create out of thin air case law in the US and like mention names that don't exist. And people have submitted this to judges, and judges go like, what the hell is this? And so this is what we're dealing with here. I've of course told the story where I saw Joe Rogan was on some podcast, and I took a screenshot of it because I saw a clip on Twitter. So I took a screenshot of what the podcast looked like, sent it to one of the AI things, and said, hey, whose podcast is this, and who's Joe Rogan talking to? And it just made it up. It said, oh, that's Joe Rogan's podcast, and he's talking to Brian Callen. And I was like, no, it's not. He said, oh, sorry, you're right. It's Joe Rogan's podcast, but he's talking to Brendan Schaub. And I was like, no, it's not. And they're like, yeah, my bad. It's Joe Rogan's podcast, and he's talking to Ari Shaffir. I was like, okay, it's not Joe Rogan's podcast. I know what Rogan's podcast looks like. And stop. If you don't know what you're saying, just don't like make it up. And then I found it out the normal way, where I like went to YouTube and limited the search to the past day and typed in Rogan and found the podcast. And so I sent the name to AI, and I was like, hey, this is what it is. And it was like, oh, thanks. It's like, wait, you just lied to me like 4 times. So anyway, this is where we're at with AI. Now, I get it. The models that the public can use for free are probably like lower levels than the ones that they have behind the scenes, or the premium models that you pay for, or whatever. But there's still issues to be worked out. Crystal was trying to. So we have like a pretty small closet given the amount of clothes we have. So we need to like make the closet bigger. And so in order to do that, we got to move the shower. And so Crystal was looking at like, what a new shower would look like with, whatever sort of tile she picked out. And the AI, she kept saying like, can you remove the shower head from the ceiling? Because we're not going to have it on the ceiling. We're going to have it on like the wall. And it just couldn't do it. And Crystal at some point said like, why is this so hard for you? And the AI was like, well, the way that we've been programmed, like a shower head being on the ceiling is like a definitive part of being a shower. So it can't comprehend moving the shower head to the wall. So like, no matter how often or how Crystal tried to get it to remove the shower head from the ceiling, it just wouldn't do it. This is where we're at with AI, right? This is where we're at for AI. It's come a long way from the beginning, but it's also still like really fucking stupid. It's the same thing that we're running into with, how Elon Musk lies every now and then and says, full driving cars are coming, within a year or some shit. Full self-driving cars. Well, it turns out they literally just can't do it. They don't know how to actually do it. That last leap, which is like all of the things that the nuances that a human being can adjust for in real time. You might call it common sense. Like the ability of humans to use common sense and adjust in real time. AI can't do that. It has hard and fast rules that it has to abide by. And once you deviate something from a rule, it just doesn't work. And so you've seen these videos of them trying to use full self-driving, and like it just drives right into a crosswalk where somebody's like walking through it and it almost kills them. We've seen this a number of times. And so this is where we're at with AI. Now I tell you all of that to show you this. Look at this. Musk's XAI and Pentagon reach deal to deploy Grok in classified systems. Huh? Yeah, what can go wrong? Elon Musk, who programmed Grok to be anti-woke, so Grok was out there saying, I'm Mecha Hitler. You remember that? That same guy with his AI company, they're going to deploy that in classified systems? Are you insane? Like, are you actually insane? And this is what happens when you're governed by total fucking idiots. Not only are they idiots, they're also totally bought and owned by the AI tech billionaires. Okay? So now they're doing shit like this. Like, the decisions they're making are, like, astonishingly stupid. But I'm still not done because this story gets even darker. Ready for this? This Anthropic and Pentagon standoff is not getting enough attention. Anthropic is prepared to walk away from a $200 million contract because they're concerned about how the Pentagon wants to use their technology for autonomous weapons and mass surveillance. We are at a dangerous intersection. So Anthropic was going to get a $200 million contract from the Pentagon. And they said, our only rules are you cannot use our AI to autonomously work weapons without a human intervention, okay? And you cannot use our AI to do mass surveillance. Those were their only things that they said, here are conditions. That's it. Well, Pete Kegsbreath, Secretary of War Crimes, goes, we're breaking up. We're not going to do a contract with you. We're going to do a contract with the other companies that don't have that stipulation. We're going to do a contract with a company that says it's okay to use our AI to do autonomous murder weapons and mass surveillance on innocent people. So stop and think about that. And Anthropic, like, now they're getting this reputation as like the only AI company that has some standards, the only AI company that has some moral limits where they say, hey, this is unacceptable. And so they're getting that reputation. But stop and think about it. They could miss out on this $200 million contract. All the incentives in the system don't have any rules and let these psychopathic fascist war criminals use the AI for all sorts of evil shit. Like, I love how it's just assumed, like, of course you're going to let us illegally spy on all Americans. Of course you're going to let us destroy the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution with your highfalutin technology. Duh! It's assumed. How we fell this fast so far is mind-boggling. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Kegsbreath has threatened to cut Anthropic from the Pentagon supply chain unless it agrees to its technology being used in all lawful military applications. This includes Kegsbreath demanding an answer from Anthropic by Friday, U.S. threats to invoke the Defense Production Act over Anthropic. Oh, I forgot to mention that part. That if they reject the deal, they're now threatening Trump is going to use the Defense Production Act to just basically steal the technology of Anthropic. Like, this is evil empire shit. We are the Fourth Reich. Like, we just are that. Like, the shit that we're witnessing is just, I can't even, how quickly everything unraveled like that in the Trump regime is just astonishing. A meeting between Kegsbreath and Anthropic CEO today. Anthropic expressing concerns about its model being used for lethal missions. Anthropic is back under pressure. So the only people trying to do even a semi-decent thing, hell is being rained down on them. I fear for the future of humanity. I really do. And it should also concern you that you had the head of safety at one of these AI companies. I think we talked about this. There was the head of safety who basically wrote a resignation letter and was like, yeah, I'm done. And I'm moving to like a remote part of the world to write poetry and get as far away from this as I can because I think shit is going to sort of fall apart, ski. One of the safety guys going, I got to resign, bro. We're not being safe anymore. Admitting like, hey, nobody's actually giving a shit about safety. They all pretended at the beginning like, oh, yes, we will shut down AI if it does any of these three things. And then it does those things, and now everybody's like, fuck it. Let's just ride this bitch into the rocks. Who cares if we bring about our own apocalypse? It is very disturbing to watch people try desperately to create God in a computer. It is very disturbing. And they just no concern about the consequences of that. No concern about the downsides. No concern about what you do to people's livelihoods. No concern about basically creating Skynet in real time. Like, we've seen the Terminator movies. It doesn't go well, right? So here we are. Terrifying moment. And, I'd like to tell you guys that I have some sense of optimism about how this can be resolved, but I don't.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.